Okay, Boker Tov. Today's daf is daf Dalet in קידושין. We went for 4 Shleima Parlos, Ben Ruma, and Yosef Ben Chaim Michal. Boker Tov and Chodesh Tov L'Kulam. We're up to the 2 dots on daf Dalet, about halfway down the page. Gufa v'yatzachinam eliyim vagas. We explained yesterday the pasuk talked about an Bria, that a young Jewish girl who was sold by her father into slavery. She goes out either, as we said, either if she's bought out, pays her way out, or if somebody pays on her behalf, or if 6 years pass, or if Yovel passes, or if she becomes bat mitzvah. She becomes bat mitzvah, she goes out. So the Mishnah said, the Bryce said there, Yatzachinam, that's Yomei Bagra. She goes out when she's 12 and a half. Ein Kesef Ein Menaris, that she goes out when she's 12. Not only 12 and a half, but she goes out even when she's 12. So the Gemara says, I have this question, why do you need two phrases for this? She goes out either when she's 12 and a half or when she's 12. Well, if she went out when she's 12, she's already out when she's 12 and a half. How could she ever be there when she's 12 and a half? Any time that she hits her 12th birthday, she's free. So how could she have to go out when she's 12 and a half? She's already free. Just say when Naris and not, but just say she goes out when she's 12, not 12 and a half. Amarav says, Bazev, even though say you're right. But it doesn't say Beferish, Nara, or Bagris. It says Yatzachinam, and we explain that to mean Bagris and Ein Kasaf even at Naris at 12 years old. So the answer is, since it doesn't say the favorish, we need 2 phrases. Because if you only have 1 phrase, you say maybe she goes out when she's 12 and a half. I don't know if she goes out when she's 12. Well, we got a second phrase. Because if 1 phrase must be 12 and a half, the pasuk doesn't say the favorish. We talk about 6 years there. The pasuk tells the favorish everybody goes out when he's 6 years, or at Yovel. That's all learned from Eved Ivri. Eved Ivri has the same halacha, right? That they go out at that stage, or if they bought themselves out. But the Bri has the additional thing that she goes out when she's bat mitzvah. How do we know? It doesn't say bat mitzvah. It doesn't say na'ara. It's learned out of phrases. So we need 2 phrases. One to tell you that if you'd only have 1, you'd say maybe 12 and a half. After all, that's so long as her father could marry her off till 12 and a half, as we saw yesterday. So maybe also she goes out from her slavery at 12 and a half. Oh, we got a second phrase. We got 2 phrases. One must be 12 and a half. One's even 12. So just say one. The answer is, if you don't have 1, you might say it's only 12 and a half. So we have 2 phrases, so you know that one's 12 and a half and one's 12. The pasuk says, if you're a Kohen, you can eat truma. Your family can eat truma. Even your Avikani can eat truma, but not your Jewish slave or a guy who is he's partially Jewish. Let's say he's a Tosha B'Sachir, he's an Eved Ivri who is sold to you. Yes, but you don't own his body. Never can you own his body, ever if you don't. So one is a Tosha, says Tosha B'Sachar lo yochabo. They cannot eat truma because they're not really owned by the Kohen. Tanya Tosha, what is a Tosha? Is that Koni Koni? That's if he's signed on until Yovel. Eved Ivri, after 6 years is up, he wants to stay on there, and he take the awl near the door and you put a hole in his ear, and you could stay on until Yovel. Yovel's after 6 years, he wants to stay, stays till the next Yovel. So Toshav Zek comes if he's still Yovel, that's an Eved Ivri Yovel, he cannot eat. Sachar Zek Kinyan Shun, that's only if he's there for 6 years. He hasn't been signed on for Yovel, so to speak. So which one would you say is more likely that he should be able to eat truma? If the Kohen has an Eved Ivri, which Eved Ivri is he more likely to say you should be able to eat truma? If he's there till Yovel, that's more permanent. So we have one pasuk telling you that if he's there till Yovel, he cannot eat truma. And another pasuk telling me if he's there just for 6 years, he can eat truma. So the Gemara says the same question. Yomer Toshav lo Yomasacha. Just tell me the Yovel guy. If the Yovel guy can't eat truma, certainly the 6-year guy can't eat truma. Yomer Kani Kani Elman Ochel Kani Kani Shanim lo Koshken. If he's acquired till Yovel, I mean he's more permanent. He can't eat truma. Certainly if he's only here for 6 years, he can't eat truma. The answer is Ilu Kain. If that would be the case, we only say one. Hey, you see, Omer Toshav that couldn't go. We don't know. The pasuk doesn't say first Kinyan Shanim or Kinyan Olam, which means for Yovel. Just as Toshav Asachar, we don't really know what they mean. If it would only say Toshav, I would say Zek Kinyan Sham. Maybe that means only if he's there for 6 years, he can't eat Truma. Kinyan Olam, but if he's there till Yovel, more permanent Ochel, I might think he could eat Truma. Well, Sachir Beliman al Toshav. So we have two words, Sachir and Toshav. Tell me that there's 2. So we have Sachir, that's the Kinyan Shanim. Toshav is one who's there for until Yovel. And even so, he can't eat truma. That's why I need 2 words. If I only have one, I would say, yeah, the more temporary one cannot eat truma, but the one who's more permanent could eat truma. Kamash, that's why I have 2. And the same thing over here with Naras and Bagras. Yatzachinam ain't cost of one for Bagras, one for Naras, but only if one, I would say, maybe she can't go out until she's a Bogeres. Kamashma, no, she can't. She goes out free even when she's an hour, meaning when she's bat mitzvah. On her 12th birthday, she goes out free. Amalei Abaya, how can you compare our case of the Amma Ivriya, the Jewish maid, this slave girl who goes out when she's 12 or 12 and a half, but you don't need 12 and a half if you would say 12, to compare to the Toshav Sacher? Hasam, Trey Gufinini. There's two different people. You could have two avadim. You could have two slaves. One's a 6-year guy, one's a Yovel guy. You could have two. So if you only have one pasuk, I would tell you maybe only this one doesn't need truma. Maybe the other one does. So I need both. The chinam because of Rahmana Toshav Nirtza. Even if the pasuk would tell me that the Toshav is the Nirtza, the one whose ear has been pierced, so that he stays till Yovel. Even if the pasuk would say Beferish, this is the Yovel guy. Not that we have to interpret Toshav as Yovel, Sachir is not Yovel. No, even if it would say Nirtza, Lo Yochel, and then afterwards it would tell me the other one, Sachir, which is the Shanim. So I'd say once I know that a Yovel guy can't eat truma, certainly the 6-year guy can't eat truma. Milson also b'kavachomer. So Milson can learn out of a kavachomer. If the Yovel guy cannot eat, certainly the Shanim guy can eat. Milson also b'kavachomer. We have a klal. One of the Kol Drushes is that even something that's learned out of a kavachomer, the pasuk sometimes says it anyway, even though you could learn out of a kavachomer. So I can understand. Even if the pasuk would say first Toshav is the Nirtza and he cannot eat truma. And it's obvious, therefore, the 6-year guy can't, but sometimes the pasuk says it anyway, even though you could learn off Kavachomer. But here it's the same girl. If she goes out, Chad Gufi, Kinafko Benaris Bagras, my boy, how could you say if she went out when she's 12 years old, how could she be there when she's 12 and a half? 12 and a half is the age until which the father can marry her off, but he can only sell her until the age of bat mitzvah. Because at bat mitzvah she goes out free. So if she goes out free when she's 12, what's she doing when she's 12 and a half? Doesn't make sense to say I need one pasuk for Bagros and one pasuk for Naras. Just say she goes out with Nara. You can't compare it to the case of the Eved Ivri, there's a 6-year guy and a Yovel guy, and the pasuk tells you both of them cannot eat truma because you don't really own them. Because there, even if it would say Beferish, the Yovel guy cannot eat truma, sometimes you could tell me the 6-year guy can't eat truma also, even though it's a milsa osik, the pasuk says it anyway. And they're two separate people. You could have a 6-year guy and a 12 and a Yovel guy. They're two different people. But over here, we're talking about one girl. When she's an hour, she goes out free. So what's she doing when she's bagrus? Elam Rabaya. When the pasuk says v'yatzachinam, we said Eliyamei bagrus, right? And Ein Kasam Eliyamei Naras. The Yatzachin is not teaching me that a Balgaris goes out when she's 12 and a half from being an Amavriya, because she's obviously out already. There's no way she could be an Amavriya between the age of 12 and 12 and a half because she already went out free. Ella, the Bagad Islanders, we're talking about Baganas. And that's the girl who has no simanim of a woman. She has no breasts to stick out. Her tummy doesn't swell. She has a deep voice like a man. She has absolutely no womanly characteristics other than her genitals are those of a girl. Ella, the Bagad Island of Sacham, I may think, the Nara taper, the Nara slow taper. She goes out when she's a Nara. Maybe a Bagara shouldn't go out at all. Now, when is a Bogeris considered a Gdola? When she's 20. When she has simanim of a Bogeris, she has these simanim, she goes out when she's 20. So maybe a Nara goes out, right? We learn about the Pasuk, Yatzachim, Ein Kasav, that there is Kasav, Nachar, etc. And she goes out when she's a Nara. But a Bagra, being an Nara means being 12 and having simanim. But a Bogeris doesn't have simanim. So, simanim of a woman. So therefore, maybe a Bogeris doesn't go out at all. Kamashpon, that she does. Even if she's a Bogeris, she goes out, meaning, of course, a Bogeris is 12 and a half. A normal Bogeris is already free when she's 12. So I don't need a pasuk for that. Pasuk is teaching me that if she's an islandess, a girl who has no simanim of a woman, and she's considered of age when she reaches 20, because she doesn't have simanim, or even a bar mitzvah or a bat mitzvah when they're 13 and 12 respectively, they're only considered gedolim if they have simanim, if they have pubic hair. So, normally you don't check because you assume that, you go bust a robe and almost everybody has that. But if you have a case where she doesn't have simanim, she's not really a gedol until she's 20. So I might think she doesn't go out. She only goes out when she's 12. But an islandess who doesn't have simanim, maybe it never goes out. Maybe she could stay an Amavriya forever. Kamashwan, no. Even an islandess goes out also when she's 20. Maskum Abravashi, I understand that's a Kal V'chomer. Uma simanim she'motzim shasab. Simonim don't take her out of the rishus of the father in the sense of what? That Masim Shusadan, in the sense that the father could still owns her and he gets her paycheck, etc., until the age of 12 and a half. So Simonim don't take her out. The fact that she's 12 doesn't take her out of the rishus of the father. Motzim Shusadan, that takes her out of the rishus of her slave master. Bagras, Bagras, which takes her out of the rishus of the father when she's 12 and a half. The father has no authority over her whatsoever. Not her paycheck, not to marry her off, cannot tell her anything. Certainly should take her out of the rishus of the Adam. So anyway, I would say that Bagras should take her out. In other words, that when she's 12, in the case of the islanders, when she's 20, of course she should take. What do we need a pasuk for that? She would go out anyway. If Simonim don't take her out of just the father, take her out of just the Adam. Bagras, which takes her out of just the father, certainly should take her out of just the Adam, and that's a Kal V'chomer. So the Gemara is going to ask in a minute. Well, wait a minute. We just said, so what if it's a Kal V'chomer? So maybe the pasuk Yasachim is coming to tell me this case of an islandess who never reaches Na'arus, but when she's 20, she's a Bogeres, and she should go out then. That's what the pasuk's teaching me. But he says that's a Kal V'chomer. Elmar Rashi gives a different answer. The main idea of that an ounce can be sold at all. Maybe an ounce can't be sold. That's the one who's going to bring a simanas, who's going to grow, who's going to mature, and bring simanim of Naras when she's 12. Obviously, that's a veil sale. The loss is simanas if she's never going to bring simanim Naras because she's an ounce, will never have pubic hair, will never have simanim of a woman at all. Maybe can't be sold at obvious vina. Maybe it's not a sale. Kamash one that it is a sale. Tosh asks right away, how can you know at that age? And now we don't really know until she also all the simanim of ours, which is when she's 20. If she's 20 and she hasn't brought simanim, she hasn't brought sorrows, and at that point she's developed a deep voice, etc. Maybe you can't tell till then. So one answer Tosh says is that even if you say that some simanim are there already, but she's not really called an ounce, she has all the simanim. So Tosh says in Echanami, she could be sold, but when she's 20 and it's determined that she's an islandess, and at that point she's a Bogeres, the slave master will have to return all the money, will have to pay her back. It's like somebody who was in jail, for no reason, they have to give him pizzuyim. That's what Tosh says, that's what you have to have that. But it's a good point that you asked the kasha. I always say, if you understand the Gemara, you'll ask Tos's kasha, right? So love is Venus, that's you understand the Gemara. So I might think that maybe can't really be sold. And if she was sold wrongly, she'd have to be paid back, or her father would have to pay back. Kamash Mulan. No, that we don't say that, and she could be sold anyway. That's a chinam. So that's a chinam that she could be sold anyway. We're at the top of the days now. Ulamar Baravashi, Domer Balav Kavachomeru. Wait a minute, Amar Rashi said Balav Kavachomer isn't a Kavachomer. What do I need to tell me? As at the end we come out that the Yatzachim is teaching me that even though she's an islandess, she could still be sold. Maybe it's telling me that an islandess who's a Bogeres is sold at 20. Then maybe that's what Yatzachim for. So the Gemara said it's a Kal V'chomer. If Simonim, which don't take out of the rishus of the father, takes out of the rishus of the Adam, Bagras, which takes out of the rishus of the certain Kal V'chomer. So didn't Rav Avshi say Kal V'chomer? Pasuk should say it anyway. So maybe in both cases we're saying the Yasachim is talking about an islandess, but is it telling me that the basic idea that an islandess could be sold at all, or is it telling me that if she's an islandess, she goes out at 20, even though that's when she reaches Bagras, even though she's not an hour at all? That's why you can't give a better answer. If you could come up with an answer, so since we have a Kal V'chomer telling you that what? That at 20 she's a Bogeres, so she should go out anyway. Because if Simonim takes her out of the Rishus Adon, and Simonim, where the father doesn't take it, someone don't take her out of the Rishus, the father take her out of the Rishus Adon, does take her out of the Rishus Adon, Bagras, which takes her out of the Rishus Adon, should certainly take her out of the Rishus Adon. So it's a Kal V'chomer that she should go out at 20 no matter what, even if she has no Simon of Naris. So therefore, it's better to say. So we have a Kal V'chomer, and you could say that that's what the pasuk speaking about. Well, we have a better answer. You might say that an annals cannot even be sold, and if she's sold wrongly, you'd have to pay it back. Mashwan that we don't say that, and she could be sold anyway. So now, yesterday's daf, we've explained how do you know that a woman can be married with money. So we said it's b'yatzachina ein kasaf. There's no kasaf for this when she leaves the Adam, when she leaves her master at the age of 12, the master is not paid at all. She goes out automatically. But there is kasaf for a different master, for her father, when he marries her off. So that's how we know that she's married off with money and that the money goes to the father. That's how Who said that yesterday? Rav Yehuda Marav. How do we know that? Moshe says, "Menon the Mikveh Kesef Kesef." Rav Yehuda Marav. Rav said that. Halacha. This learned out from the Yatzachinim and Kesef. That's how you know that a woman's married off for Kesef, for money, or Shava Kesef. Today, like we say, we've done it with a ring with Shava Kesef. We're going to have that issue because we're getting to the point, either in our lifetimes or our children's lifetime, there will be no more money that you can handle. It's all going to be electronic. It's going to be a problem, right? Today we still have money. They're limiting it. But will we ever get to the point where there is no physical money, that it's all electronic? That's going to be a problem. Loss of level. We'll see. But the Tana, how does he know that the kesef he sold with that the woman is married off with money? No, it's not from Yasachin. We have a different pasuk. The pasuk we mentioned back on that phase. The Tanya Kikach Yishish, the pasuk says, "Get in Bar Kikach Yishisha Bala." If a man marries a woman and he lives with her, if he doesn't like her, he must have ever stuff he found. Erba stuff. Remember, we had at the last stop in Gittin. What's the three of machlokas? Because he found something wrong with her. Either maybe according to some he didn't like the way she cooked, or he found somebody better. I say the part that my daughter always says that the Rebbe Kiva seems to be the most. It seems to be the most illogical. Because he found somebody better, that's good enough, you can divorce her. So isn't that like really not a nice thing to say? He found somebody better. The answer is
that was his life history.
Somebody better, if he's just making on looks or that kind of something's wrong with his marriage, and he shouldn't be looking somewhere else. In any case, that's the pasuk we talked about that pasuk back in last stop in Gittin. And now he says, and he marries her something else. So it says over there, Kikach Ish Isha. Well, it says Kikach, and Kicha Kesef. Kicha means with money. Avram said that to Ephraim, right? So, Kach Mimeni, we have Kicha, Xer Shava, Kicha by Isha, Kicha by the field, and there it says Kesef, Nasati Kesef Sadameni. So therefore, that's how we know that a woman is acquired in marriage with money. So the Gemara says, what ain't the pasuk for? It's a kalvachomer. The young girl that we spoke about, the long Jewish slave girl sold by her father when she's a ketana. He cannot acquire. Let's say the father says, he have bia with this young girl, and that's how you acquire. That doesn't work. Ain't a nikis bia. Nikis bekesef could be so she is acquired with kesef. The Adon pays money to the father. Zeus and nikis bia. This one who's acquired by Bia, as we said in the Mishnah, Kesef Shtar Bia, we didn't explain yet the source for Bia, but we'll see it soon. So she will be and it didn't shake the Kesef. So they have a Kavachomer, she's acquired by Kesef. If a girl who cannot be acquired as a slave girl with Bia can be acquired with Kesef, this one who's acquired with Bia, certainly should be acquired with Kesef. The answer is no. Yavama Tochiach. Look at Yavama, she niktas Bia, and it's Kesef. A Yavama is only acquired Minat Torah, only with Bia, not with Kesef. Midrabanan, we have this mimer that you give her a kesef or a star to make it like a קידושין Rabbanan. But Midraisa, she's only acquired with bia. So you can't say Ma the chesef is acquired with bia, you acquired with kesef. Here you have Yavama acquired with bia. It's not acquired with kesef. Ma Yavama she can accept star, but Yavama you can't ask kasha from Yavama. Why? Because she's not nikna b'shtar. It's not nikna b'shtar or with kesef. Tam b'sushin b'shtar. Since, as we said in the Mishnah, the isha niknas b'kesef shtar b'bia. So it's nikna b'shtar b'bia. So therefore, can't ask Kash from Yavama. Yavama is not Nikna B'shtar. So therefore, we're back to our Kalvachomer. Kalvachomer was what? Amavriya. Mama Achavriya is not Nikna B'ya, Nikna B'kesef. This one was Nikna B'ya, Shul Nikna B'kesef. We have a Kalvachomer. Still, the Gemara says, Tamalomer Ki Kachish. We have this Xer Shava. Kicha Kicha Mistefan. The Gemara says, what do you mean? What do you need a pasuk for? You just said you had a Kalvachomer. Also, you already just explained the Kalvachomer. You wanted to slug up a Kalvachomer from Yavama, but then you refuted the Yavama because Yavama is not Nikna B'shtar. So we have the Kalvachomer. So what do I need the pasuk for Kichisha? Ravashi Mishum the Ikal Meimer Miikra the Dina Pircha. I have a kasha on your basic Kalvachomer. Miikra the source, not an outside. You had a kasha. Oh, you have a Kalvachomer from Amavriya, but we have a kasha from Yavama. So you slug that up. No, that's a kasha from Yavama, like an outside thing. I'm talking about your basic Kalvachomer is also refutable. The kasha is on it's refuted from Mikra from your basic Kalvachomer. Mehecha Kamaisla, where you learn Amavriya, Amavriya she can Yosef Bekesef. Amavriya goes out with money, she can pay her way out. Or her father or family members can pay her way out. Tomazu Shen Yosef Bekesef. A regular woman does not go out with Kesef, she only goes out with what would get. Tamaloma, therefore with the Kalvachomer is up. Tamaloma Kikach Ish. So now we come out, we have two sources for how do you know that a woman is acquired in marriage with money. one from Yatzachinam Ein Kesef, Ein Kesef Lemzel Yesh Kesef Achad. That's on Yudam Rav, and we have this Russia of Kicha Kicha Mistayafim. Why do I need both? Vitzrich Lemechta, the Gemara says, Vitzrich Lemechta Yatzachinam Yisrich Lemechta Kikach. I need both. The one from yesterday and one from today. Because of Rachmana Kikach. If we only have this one, Havimina, you should be able to Baldi dog. Okay, Kicha, she's required with money, but maybe she keeps the money. How do I know that the money goes to the father up until the age of 12 and a half? That's Yatsachinam, because of Rachmana Yatsachinam. Ain't Kesef Lemzel Yesh Kesef Nachah. Because of Rachmana Yatsachinam, yesterday's passage, Havimina Hecha Diavla Ihi Ledide, Vikidash Tabikidusha. Maybe she gives him the money. You know, today they have don't they have a double ring ceremony or whatever it's called, right? So maybe she gives him the money and say, I would like to be Mekudeshes to you. Would that work? Why not? All the pasuk is teaching me is what? Because if there is money. How do you know? Maybe just like he give her the money, maybe she can give him the money. Maybe she gives him the ring. He has to take her, not that she takes him. Therefore, I need both psukim. So we said in the Mishnah, Kesef Shtar Bia. How do I know Bia works? We said, since we don't have Kabul Chomer, we said Marach Amar Bia, where Bia doesn't work, Kesef works. Where Bia doesn't work, Kesef works. Certainly at Isha, where Bia works, Kesef. How do we know Bia works? Uba'ala. That's because it says the same pasuk. Kikach ish Isha uba'ala, and he has Bia with her. He mates with her, right? They're intimate. That teaches me again. What do I need the pasuk for? B'kavachomer. Yavama is not acquired completely with Kesef. Nikas Bia, she's acquired Bia. Zusha Nikas Kesef. Now we've already proven that a regular woman is acquired with money, and it didn't be certainly she should be acquired with Bia. That's a Kavachomer. Look at Amavriya. She nicked the Kesef, Bia. You can't prove just because somebody's nicked the Kesef that she also nicked the Bia. Why? Because you have Amavriya, which is nicked the Kesef and not Bia. That's different. You know why she's not nicked the Bia? Because he's not acquiring her to marry her. He's acquiring her only as a slave. So therefore, it's teaching me about. So the same question. What do you mean? You do have a Kal V'chomer from Yavama. You can't ask a kasha from Amavriya because Amavriya is not the same Mishas. Have a Kal V'chomer from Yavama. Yavama is not nicked because is nicked Bia. This one is nicked because it's Bia. Tamlo Balas. What do we need a pasuk for? Oh, see, like you just said, you have a good Kal V'chomer from Yavama. Again, you could ask a kasha on the basic Kal V'chomer. You want to learn from Yavama. Again, Yavam is not nickname Kesef, it's nickname Bia. This one is nickname Kesef, certainly shouldn't be Bia. My Yavam Shekain Skuk of Venice is different because Yavam is already attached. She's a cook, she's already connected with him, right? When Reuben dies with no children, she's automatically connected to Shimon. She can't marry anybody in the street. So there it's different. Therefore, that's why you say Bia helps. Tomer Bazu, Shain is a cook of Venice, but over here she's not a cook of Venice. So you can't say a Kal V'chomer from Yavam. No. Different over here. Bia shouldn't work because she's not connected already like she is with Yom. We're talking about not the Bia of after the Sun. We're talking about the Bia for קידושין. So why maybe it doesn't work? But Yavam is different. She's already connected. Here it's not connected. So therefore, how do I know that Bia works by a regular woman that you can get engaged to her, have Eris and קידושין, Kinyan, Kicha, whatever you call that? How do you know that it works for a regular woman, even though the rabbis frowned upon it, it's considered priestess to do it that way. But if you did with Bia, if you were Mekadosh, Harayat Mukadeshes Bia Zu, and then he has Bia with her, that would work. How do you know? From the word Uba Allah. Uminayan Shaf Bishtar. So we said Kesef Shtar Bia, we're at the top of Dalad now. Uminayan Shaf Bishtar, how do we know Shtar also works? We did Ma Kesef Shein Motzi Machnes, Marach Kesef. Which what? You cannot divorce, does not take her out of the marriage, cannot get divorced, but brings her in, as we've learned already from Yasachin Men Kesef and Kicha Mistayef from Shtar Shemotzi, Shtar which takes her out of the marriage. Again, and a din Shemachnas, you should be able to take her in. So you should be able to write in a Shtar, hello, Bela, Shtar Zu, and give it the Shtar, even though it's not worth any money, that should work. So Shtar Shemotzi, Shtar which can take her out of the marriage, again, and Shamachlis should bring it in. So therefore, you have a Kal V'chomer. You must know Mala Kesef Shekain Podo Hektish Ma'aser Sheni. Hektish is stronger. Kesef is stronger because you can be Podo Hektish and Ma'aser Sheni with money, with coinage, right? Tomer Shtar Shein Podo Hektish Ma'aser Sheni. Can you go to the Gizber and the Bez? That's what I was thinking about. With the coinage, that we're going to coin. Can you go? I'll give you a star here. I'll go to the Gizmo. So I'll give you an IOU. I want to be Poda this Ma'aser Sheni or this Hektish with an IOU or a document or a contract. That doesn't work. So kesef has a stronger thing. Therefore, kesef is stronger, and you can't learn a kavachomer from kesef, right? You got to give cash. We want cash. That's not kesef will come low. Coinage, right? Not cash bills either. They're not worth anything, right? The only coins, real coinage will come low. Across. So how do we know that a shtar works? The answer is v'yatza v'haisa. It says v'yatza v'haisa lis acher. There's a hekesh between leaving husband number one and coming into husband number two. Makash abayasiyah. We compare coming into the marriage to leaving a marriage. Ma'yasiyah b'shtar, just like you leave marriage with a shtar, a get. Afay also b'shtar. Okay, so that's how you learn that shtar. Very good. Hekesh yatza v'haisa. Like more ba'hakish nam yatzil avay. If that's the case, you should be able to be makish leaving to coming in. Mahavaya b'kesef, as we said, havaya, coming into a marriage and getting engaged. Erusin is kesef shtar b. If that works with kesef, af yitzia b'kesef. If you're saying you're learning out, how do you know that you can go into a marriage with shtar? Because there's a hekesh between leaving and coming in. Just like leaving is with a get, you can come in with a shtar. So the same thing, just like coming in is with kesef, you should be able to go out with kesef. Rabaya, Yomer Kesef Machnes, Kesef Motzi. Kesef is bringing you into the marriage and Kesef is taking out. Saneger Yasser Kaneger comes out that the defendant is becoming the prosecutor, which is illogical. You can't say what brings her in takes her out. Yachi Shtar Nami say Shtar also. Yomer Shtar Motzi Shtar Machnes. If Shtar takes her out and Shtar could take her in now, the get takes her out, you can write a Shtar Erison. Kateger Nasa Saneger. The prosecutor, the Shtar, the get is also going to become a defender now. The answer is mili dehai shtar l'chud mili shtar. No, they're different stars. Different. And not every document has got the same writing on it. One is a document that says harayat mukadeshes li, and one is harayat mugureshes. Right? You're free to marry anybody else. They're two different things, not the same star. Right? So mili dehai shtar l'chud mili shtar l'chud. So alchanami high kas l'chud high kas l'chud. This is also different money. And when he gives her the money to marriage, he says harayat mukadeshes li. When he gives the money to divorce her, if that would work, say I'm divorcing you with this money. Tiva miyachadu, it's the same coinage. It's the same coinage. In one, you have a document. If it's a get or versus a shtar of קידושין, they say different things in them. But here, it's the same coins, right? I have the same gold dollar coin or whatever you give her. It's the same coinage. Therefore, you couldn't say that. Okay, so that's why he says, okay, Einochanami, we learn out that a shtar can bring her into the marriage from the get, because yatzav ha'isa we have a hekesh. But if you want to say that she should be able to leave money with kesef, no. It's the same money. It doesn't make sense to say the same money that brings her in can take her out. You want to say it's the same shtar. It's not the same shtar. It's a document, but one says you're divorced, one says you're married. Rav Amar, it's a different reason how you know that that the coins wouldn't work. Rav Amar passes because of law. How do I know that you can't divorce her with money? Not because it's the same money that's bringing her in, bringing her out, but rather because it's because of law. You have to write her. It says maybe it means this. If he says because of law, maybe you learn it this way. She's only divorced with writing, but she's not divorced with writing. Because of Yatzav Haisa. So Yatzav Haisa, we have the Hekesh, Makash and Vayeli. We have Hekesh saying they're both leaving a marriage and coming into marriage are the same in the sense that you can use a shtar. So that tells you that a shtar would work for bringing her into the marriage. And because of law, Misgresh's famous Gresh's Bekesef is excluding Kesef. So how do you know how to darshan it? In other words, if you on the one hand you have a hekesh saying that what applies to the leaving the marriage should apply to the entrance of the marriage. The other ones you're saying no. The skivus greshus and greshus bekesef. Maybe you have a pasuk telling me that Amos Gresh is not divorced with kesef. Hey, miksivus greshus, famous greshus beksiva. So just like he says, because of law it says you own greshus, you can't be divorced with cash. Maybe it means you can only be divorced with a writ, with a document, beksiva, but you can't get married with ksiva. Rather than say that Yatzav Haisa is teaching me that she can get married with a shtar, maybe it's teaching me because of law, and she can't get married with a shtar. So how do you know which one to apply? If you're talking about gerushin because of law, the Skivus is probably divorce. The koi begerushin, the my gerushin, you're excluding gerushin. Talking about because of law, she's divorced with a get. But something else not. Probably she's not divorced with something else with kesef. So he's excluding something of gerushin. Koi begerushin my kedushin. But you want to say that the pasuk of Akasel is saying she's divorced with a document, but she's not married with a document. We're talking about divorce over here. So I'd rather say that it's excluding a different kind of divorce. She's divorced with a get, but she's not divorced with kesef. So therefore, how do you know that kesef will not divorce her? Either because ain kateger nasa sadeg. We're gonna say it doesn't make sense to. It's the same money that brings the same coinage. If it brings her into marriage, cannot use a divorce. That's what the first answer. The second answer, because of law, famous Geresh, because that's not kesef can't work. Even if you want to say there's a hekesh, but the hekesh is only for including shtar קידושין, but not for excluding coinage for divorce. Because that's because of love, famous Geresh. Rav Yosef Glili in Gemara and Git Chafal says over there, because of it's teaching me over there, you can't write a get on a food or on a live animal. That's because of how does he know you can't be divorced with kesef? Because because of was not excluding kesef from because of law, he was because of her different Russia. Amar safer creases. That's because of safer creases. Safer course of ein davar achar. We had this more 2 days ago also. Safer course of right. The ein davar achar. So only a book, a written document in divorce or nothing else. So based on that pasuk, Rabbanan who learn out from because of law or from ein kateganas hager. High creases, what do they do with safer creases? You already know that it's got to be written, it's got to be a document. It can't be coinage. Tell you that the safer creases, the get has to totally cut her off. If I say I'm divorcing you on the condition that you're not going to drink wine, on the condition you're not going to go to your father's house olam forever, ain't the creases because she's tied to him as long as she lives. As long as she lives, she always has the possibility of not fulfilling the condition. So that's not a proper get. Kol shoshim yom rav creases. But if he says, I'm divorcing a condition that you don't drink wine for 30 days or you don't go to your father's house for 30 days, that's finite because it's a condition. She's divorced from now, as Rashi says, but she has to fulfill the condition. But the condition can be fulfilled and she can go on living afterwards. But if the condition spans her entire life, that's not a proper cutting off because she's always tied to him. Rabbi Yossi Glili, how does he know that? How does he know that same malachim chorus creases? Because Pasuk could have said because of law, safer chorus. Why does it say krisus? He's from the extra lashon there. He learns that out. Right? He learns out number one chorus that safer korsa and nothing else, and not coinage. And krisus teaches me the extra lashon of krisus, the expanded lashon of krisus teaches me this halacha that she has to be cut off during her lifetime totally. Rabbanan don't darshan it. Rabbanan chorus krisus lo mashma. They don't think there's any special drasha there. All right, Chodesh Tov to everybody. We'll pick it up from those words. Now we've learned out Kesef, Shtar, and Bia based on Psukim, right? Kesef from 2 different Psukim, Bia from Ubala, and Shtar works because of Yatzav Haisa Hekesh of get to Kedushin. And now the Gemara tomorrow is going to continue with this discussion of why do we need a Psukim? Maybe why do you need Psukim for all 3? Maybe you can learn out one from the other 2, etc., etc. We'll pick it up there tomorrow also. Rosh Chodesh tomorrow as well. Chada Michada, about a third of the way from the bottom of the page. That's what we'll pick it up tomorrow.
Beautiful. Thank you.